Good morning. I'm attorney Gary Finklea from the Finklea Law Firm in Florence, South Carolina. Today I'd like to speak with you regarding what your elements of recovery are in the event your automobile was involved in an accident where you are not the responsible party. In other words, if you have a claim against the other party for damage to your automobile, what can you expect? First, there's two options. Either one, your car is going to be fixed, or second, your car is going to be totaled. First, in the event your car is totaled, you will be compensated the fair market value of your car. You will not be compensated your payoff, which is sometimes more than the fair market value of the car. What the insurance companies do, and some of them do a better job than others, is they generally perform some form of market analysis on what they can find your vehicle for in the area. So, what I suggest to my clients to do is go to Kelley Blue Book, kelleybluebook.com, or the National Automobile Dealers Association website, NADAguides.com, and go there and find out what the fair market value of your car is worth. Now, I think Kelley Blue Book actually has a link. If you put in a certain car, they'll have a link to cars for sale in the area and tell you the price, the year, and so forth. That, quite frankly, is the best indicator of what your car is worth, is for what you can replace it with. Regardless what a chart tells you, like in Kelley Blue Book or NADAguides.com, if you can tell the adjuster, look, there's a car just like mine at the local dealership and this is what they want for it, that's a good indicator of what your car is worth. Now, of course, the mileage on your car is a big factor. Sometimes clients don't recognize that mileage is a significant factor into the worth of the automobile. Obviously, a high mileage vehicle is worth a lot less than an average or low mileage vehicle. The other thing to consider is in the event you have any add-ons to that vehicle. For example, add-ons or recent repair maintenance of a significant value. Merely changing the oil is not enough. But if you just recently rebuilt the engine, if you rebuilt the transmission, if you put new tires on it, if you have this state-of-the-art stereo system, I'd probably, quite frankly, tell you to take it out rather than put an old one back, because you probably won't be compensated much for that. But big ticket items like that, mention that to the adjuster because you can get some additional compensation for that. Now, in the event your car is not totaled and is repaired, what can you expect? First of all, in the event your repairs are more than 75% of the value of your car, generally insurance companies total the car. That's one question a lot of my clients have is, well, will they total it? Well, it depends on the cost of repairs. If it's 75% or more, generally they'll total it. Now, usually they not only consider the cost of repairs, but they consider how long it's going to be repaired, because you are entitled to loss of use of your vehicle, and quite frankly, you're entitled to loss of use whether or not they total it or whether they repair it. So that's an element of damage in both cases, loss of use. Now, if they purchase your car, if they total your car, they're not going to give you a rental car for months for you to shop for one. What they're going to do is when they make the decision to total it, and generally by the time they get the check to you, they're going to revoke that rental car. All right, so back to the property damage. You get your cost of repair, your rental expenses, loss of use, and the third element of damage is depreciation. And that is, there's no formula for determining what depreciation is, at least none that the adjusters use. However, a rule of thumb in the industry is depreciation is generally 10 to 20% of the cost of repairs. So, if you've got a car that had frame damage, I would seek on the upwards of 20% depreciation. If you just had some minor damage, it would be 10%. Now, there's all kind of questions that arise with when a vehicle is repaired. Can they use used parts? Can they use aftermarket parts? And quite frankly, there is no rule of thumb. Obviously, if it's my car, I'd want new factory parts. But on the other hand, if I'm driving a 10-year-old car, it's really not fair for me to ask to put new parts on my old vehicle. Maybe a used part would be more appropriate. Obviously, try to get new parts. If you can't get new parts, I think the preference is to get a good used part that fits that particular car rather than an aftermarket part, but different body shops would vary on that, so it's whatever yours prefers. But all this comes out in the end through depreciation. So for example, if I have a late model car and I put new parts on it, then the insurance company is going to claim that, well, you don't have as much depreciation because you used new parts. On the other hand, if we used used parts or aftermarket parts, we could make the argument that depreciation is more because I use these aftermarket parts and they aren't original parts on the car. The newer your automobile is, the more I would request new parts. The older it is, the more likely the insurance company will be more reasonable in asking you to put aftermarket parts or used parts on it. So there's a multitude of questions and issues that come up with property damage claims following automobile accidents. And it differs, quite frankly, whether or not you're making a liability claim or a claim under your comprehensive coverage, because when you make a claim under your own policy, in other words, if you're at fault, you may not be entitled to a rental car unless you buy that coverage, and you probably aren't going to be entitled to depreciation. Now, there's an exception to that. In the event you're making an uninsured claim, which I've spoken about before, then you can, of course, claim those elements of damage, even though your insurance company will be the one paying the check. But if you have any questions concerning an automobile claim, please feel free to contact me at 843-317-4900, or you can reach me by email, gfinkley@finklealaw.com, or through our website at finklealaw.com. Thank you very much and have a good day.